Hey Tracy, lovely to see you again.
Morning. It feels like an absolute lifetime since we were last chatting. How are you?
I am very, very well. I've been in the UK sorting out my card deck, seeing family, school holidays, all of the things. So
Yeah.
finally home. Missed you.
Oh, I missed you too, darling. I wonder sometimes whether people just think that all we do is sit around talking to dead people and our spirit guides and being woo-woo. And I was thinking about it earlier on, and it's like, actually, do you know what? This 3 week break ended up being a bit longer. I've got a relative having a hip operation, so that's taken up a lot of time, and just family life's been really busy, and you've had a lot on. And so, yeah, like life just has been happening.
Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, I had 2 weeks in the UK with the family. So we've been to Glastonbury, we've been to Longley, school holidays, absolutely
Wow.
fantastic. In between, the card deck has finally arrived. So that's the next thing.
Fantastic progress, though.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So, just in case anybody still thinks that our lives are perfect and everything goes smoothly because we've got them on our side, think again.
Yeah, absolutely. You may notice today I've got people walking backwards and forwards across my window.
It's just the way the world goes. I did a podcast interview recently, and midway, the DPD driver turned up and she had to pause the interview and chase after him because the telephone company had put the wrong address. So he was trying to deliver to the next door or whatever. So she's chasing it down the road. I've got visions of a dog bounding down the road after the delivery driver. And then she came back. So it was total chaos, and it made us laugh. So it was fine. So it happens. Joys
It
of living.
does. It does. I mean, we can plan meticulously with our guides and, our own ideas, and something's going to throw a spanner in the works. And, normally it's not destructive. It just, perhaps takes our attention away a little bit or brings something new in or, whatever it may be. And I've certainly found having a plan is great and, gives me structure, but I also have to have space for chaos
Yeah.
because, that's what's going on at the moment.
Absolutely. And, I think we all go through those periods. And funny enough, it's come up a lot with my development groups where, they get stuff like the kids go sick or the husband's working from home and they can't have the space to do the call with me because my development groups are on Zoom. Or, I'm doing a 7 day challenge with one of my groups at the moment because they keep saying, oh, I never get time to sit and meditate or speak to my guides. I'm like, right, let's do some accountability. Let's get you so that you've got to do it because you've got to report back to me and tell me whether you've done it or not.
Yeah.
And so, all the time I'm getting stuff from them like, oh, I just sat down and the doorbell went, or this happened, that happened. And it is just a case of sometimes you just have to let it wash over you,
Yeah.
especially with meditating. Like at the moment, like our road is a really quiet road. You don't get any through traffic because it's a cul-de-sac. But we've got a house up the road where they're doing it up, and it feels like they've been doing it up for a lifetime. And this last week, they've been cutting bricks with an angle grinder, and it's
Hmm.
literally two doors up, and it's like, And then
Yeah.
on top of that, I've got just the general noise. Then someone else was having scaffolding up, and I wanted to meditate. I wanted to do some stuff, and I literally just had to get that place where I could tune it out. And it's not easy. And I
Mm.
think a lot of people find that when they're not as practiced as we are, that it's so hard to tune out the noise of everyday life, like the dog barking next door, or, you know, especially if you're on a busy road, cars and lorries and God knows what. And, it is something that I have to help my guys learn to deal with because
Mm.
there's always something. Most people don't live in a field in the middle of nowhere where they've got perfect tranquility. You can just go, oh, I'm going to go and meditate. Oh, brilliant. I think that is a real issue for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that, spirit sometimes tests us as well to
Yeah.
see how much we actually want something. And that can be, how much we want to connect with our guides, how much we want to actually meditate, how much we want to grow and
Mm.
up level. So, sometimes it's like a bit of a test with all of these distractions and things coming in, but it is learning to overcome that distraction to get to where it is that you want to be, because there's always going to be a distraction. There's always the possibility of chaos, right? We're going through change, we're up leveling. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a straight path,
No, it's
right?
not. And also with that, the amount of conversations I've had recently about this, and you'll probably find the same way. So many people go, but I've done loads of work. I'm like, yeah, and when you get rid of that, there'll be more. It's like,
Yeah.
is there no end to it? I'm like, look, we are
No.
literally the Bristol Bridge, which for you that don't live in the UK, the Bristol Bridge is like, I don't know, 30 miles long or something stupid, across a great big gorge on
Mm.
the west coast of England. And literally they finish painting it, maintaining it, which takes years, and then they go back to the start and do it
Yeah.
again because it's got the sea air. It's always corroding and degrading. The road
Yeah.
needs resurfacing, the paint needs repainting. That is us. And so these wounds that we talk about at the moment, you're going to find one and get rid of it and go, oh, brilliant, happy days.
Yeah.
And then you're going to find another
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the only way we can look at that is to be grateful that they're not all there in, in one go, and we have to deal with them all in one go. We can do this, steadily and start removing. And we're here to upgrade, to up level, to ascend, right? So there's always going to be something, and some things may be major, some things may be minor, but they're still blocking you. So a wounding like the mother wound, that's going to be a major, right?
Mm,
A vow like a vow of poverty is pretty minor in comparison to the wounding that you're holding on
mm,
to. So some things can be removed easily and effectively, and some things are going to take more energy. They're going to take more determination and more understanding to be able to remove them. So it's important that we know that we're a project. I think it's
yeah.
probably the best way to describe it, right? We're a project. We're maybe even an experiment, right?
Oh, I think we're both.
Yeah. So there's always the possibility to clear something, to heal something, and to grow,
Yeah.
right? But we have a choice as to whether we are going to do that,
Mm,
right? We can stay stuck in anxiety, in scarcity, lack, wounding, whatever it may be, or we can make a choice to heal one thing at a time and start to evolve.
yeah, I think if we looked at the whole, I mean, honest to God, if you looked at a house that was falling down, like, we've had the program with Alan Carr and Amanda Holden, I think most people would just look at that and go, oh my God, I don't know where to start. It's too overwhelming. I'm just not going to bother.
Mm,
Whereas if you just go, I have anxiety, let me find the root of the anxiety and clear it, or I lack confidence, or I have an issue with money, and then you find out there's a vow of poverty that needs clearing. And when you get rid of that, some other stuff comes up. Just pick one thing that you want to improve or get rid of, depending on what it is, and then worry about the rest.
yeah.
Because I honestly think as you remove one thing, all the other pieces of the puzzle coalesce into a different pattern, and
Mhm.
then you remove something else and it does it again. And so I honestly think we have to just think of ourselves as layers and just pick something, work on it, move on. And you don't have to do it all in one day because that is just too much.
Absolutely. We've got to think about our nervous systems and how we cope with healing, and we're all different.
Mm,
So we're all going to have different effects and different symptoms come out. And I think it's important to mention at this point, we're talking about really connecting in with the core issue,
yeah,
right? You're going to have symptoms that are coming up, like perhaps the scarcity around money, and removing that vow of poverty is going to be really, really powerful. But there's going to be something else underlying.
yeah,
So finding what that is, whether it's a past lifetime, whether it's a wounding, because woundings can happen, whether it's blocked chakras, there are so many different things. And by working with yourself, maybe the Akashic records, Reiki, whatever it is that you like to work with, you can start to uncover these things. And I think it's also important to say that these things come up when we're ready to deal with them.
Yes.
We might not think we're ready
Mm.
because we're in a spiral, but they will come up when we are ready to deal with them. So I think having faith in your own abilities, having faith that you're taking the right steps, and having that understanding that you are ready to deal with this one step at a time, whatever it
Mm.
may be, is going to be powerful. And that's going to give you the determination and the driving force to be able to move forwards.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And, you know, sometimes you can do it on your own, and hopefully our podcasts are helping with people going, oh my God, that's what's going on. Brilliant. Because sometimes
Mm.
we're just completely lost as to what the actual problem is. We just know that things aren't right. So the first step is identifying what the hell is actually going on. The second step is to heal it. And if you can't do that on your own and you need somebody like us,
Mm.
then that's what we are here for. That's our role on this planet. So tell us about the Brotherhood Wound and how that ties in with all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Brotherhood Wound is again like the sisterhood wound that we have looked at, except it is the masculine counterpart of that literally can keep us stuck in our tracks moving forward. So we really want to talk about and think about the masculine elements. So the brotherhood wounding again is a soul wounding, and this wounding is really about trust, it's about power, and it's about the connection between men. Now obviously women also hold on to the brotherhood wound, but it is primarily a masculine energy, and it is between men or masculine embodied beings, right? And this brings up things like betrayal, abandonment, rivalry. If you think about the man in your life, like, is he emotionally suppressed? Because, you know, that's what men are taught to do, to hide their emotions.
Mm.
Um, and to not feel safe to express themselves. So it is very much the masculine counterpart to the sisterhood wound, right? So it will affect women. So let's talk a little bit about where it comes from. And it's not just about, you know, male friendships, it's about how we relate to masculine energy within us and around us. Because, of course, you know, we are masculine, we have feminine and masculine energy. So I've noticed that a lot of my clients are in their masculine energy because
Yeah.
they're hustling, you know, and all of those things. So we're really talking about this masculine energy within them, as well as the masculine people around them, right?
Right.
So again, it's going to affect groups. So we looked at, you know, the sister wounding where you didn't feel safe in groups. So again, you've still got that same energy of not feeling safe in groups of men. It's very much about leadership, power, money, emotional expression, you know, all of those really powerful masculine energies that we hold onto, right? Or
Mm.
that we experience in our lives. So again, this is carried across generations, timelines, lifetimes, you know, all of the things. So we would have had past lives as a male. So some of that energy comes forwards to us as well. So I feel that the brotherhood wound comes from things like war, betrayal, conquest, um, the toxic masculine energy that can be that boys can be told, you know, like man up,
Yeah.
or you know, don't cry, don't show your emotions, you need to prove your worth, you need to be an authority, you know, all of that kind of energy. Of course there's father issues that could come in with this because we portray the father figure as the authority, as the rule maker, and all of those things. So likely um, there's going to be some overlap going on with
Okay.
the fatherhood wound as well. And of course, it can be, you know, it can come from times in in the military, or if you think about the priest wound, so it can be religious, it can be cultural, it can be military, it can be unhealed karma. Like there are so many different ways it can show up.
Yeah. And, you know, I don't know about this because this is just something that's popped into my head while we've been talking. One would assume that if a woman has very strong masculine energy, like say tomboys,
Hmm.
or men have very feminine energies, doesn't mean that they're effeminate or gay. It's just that they have very feminine energy.
Yep.
Um, that that's going to be affecting that brotherhood wound as well.
Yeah, absolutely. When we think about kind of the ancestral side of things, the generational, and what we experienced from our parents, maybe things show up that way. Like if you have a father that tells you to man up, to not show your emotions, to be the man of the family, all of those kind of things, then quite likely they're either gonna be severely in the masculine energy, or they're gonna rebel against that
Mm,
and be in their feminine energy because they want to be more gentle, they want to approach things in a different way. And of course, you can have the opposite of that as well. So, I
mm,
don't know for sure, but we are what society tells us, what our family tells us, these are our beliefs and our thought patterns
mm.
that we take on. So not something I've looked at personally, but yeah, absolutely. I feel that um, we're in a particular energy for a purpose, and usually that's for survival.
Yeah.
So if a man is very much in his feminine energy, right, that could be because he needs to survive. And if he's more gentle and more emotional, it may protect him from something in his life. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
It does, yeah, yeah. And also, you know, just looking at society, and, you know, I'm a child of the 70s, and women at that time weren't fully in the career woman
Mm,
thing. They were still very much in the women should be barefoot and pregnant and tied to the kitchen sink kind of mentality.
mm,
And certainly in my grandparents' lifetime, apart from women who worked because they had no choice, because they were a single parent, because they'd lost a partner in the war, or because they were working in the war effort, women were generally not expected to work, and they weren't perceived to be as equal to men. And we still have that playing out now. Women have to work twice as hard to feel like they're the equal of the men. And there are lots of pockets of cultures and societies where women are still just not valuable. You know, even they're not even respected for carrying babies and giving life. It's almost like they're just nobodies. And certain sections of the USA I come across where they're very misogynistic, and that conflict between the masculine and feminine energy, and you know, those people that are being brought up to believe that men know everything and are the authority, but that may not sit well with them because they're seeing so much more around them where women are equal. And it causes a lot of conflict, and it causes lots of belief problems, lots of identity issues, because you've got one voice telling you this and another voice over there telling you that. And so there's a lot of um, people that are kind of in and out of their energy and really don't know which one is the one that is right for them.
absolutely.
We had a conversation earlier on. Somebody told me, "Oh, Tracy, you always say this, and Suzi always says this." So, absolutely was one of them. I've been watching you going any minute now.
I know. Right, I'm going to find a new word for next week. So let's talk about how it might show up
Okay.
um, in our day-to-day lives now. So we're looking at the same kind of energies as the sister wound. which is very much about expression, comparison, mistrust or lack of trust, and all of those kind of different energies. So emotionally, if you're holding on to the brotherhood wound, you may have like a fear of expressing yourself, of being vulnerable around men, not being able to trust them with any of your feelings or feeling judged as
Mm.
well when you try to talk about emotions or feelings. We've also got the comparison and competition, which is a big
Yeah.
thing. So it could be rivalry, masters banter, sabotaging someone, envy. So envious of someone that's perhaps going up the ladder and you're too afraid to go up the ladder in your work. Um, Needing to prove yourself for respect or to be noticed or to be accepted
Yeah.
is another big one. Let's talk about women because that I think talking about women is important because sometimes it's hard to really connect and understand
Mm.
how a masculine wounding can affect us. So this is really talking about for those identifying as women, okay?
Yeah.
So there may be a resistance to structure, routine, strategy, masculine friendships, or masculine leadership as well. The fear of trust. And this can be in business, it can be in life, it can be your doctor, right? It can be any masculine energy that you may feel uncomfortable with, like especially if it's, a doctor, a dentist, or someone that you have to see on a regular basis. So that's quite important. I feel when a masculine energy comes up, and this is definitely connected to the fatherhood wound, and I feel definitely um, here with the brotherhood wound, is rebellion, right? Because you're going to rebel against this masculine energy because of fear and distrust and lack of emotional connection
Mm.
to them. But also there comes with it like this fear of being um, overpowered or dominated or unheard, all of those different kinds of energy. So there's a lot that goes on within the brotherhood wound that some of it is going to link to the fatherhood wound because it's that masculine energy. But it's very much, I feel, connected to the sisterhood wound, only the masculine version, where it's very
Yeah.
much about that trust, that connection, being in big groups, and perhaps, rebelling against the structure. The sisterhood wound, we have been a bit suppressed,
Hmm.
right? And the brotherhood wound seems to want to suppress us a little bit more. So I do
Okay.
feel that there are big links.
And one would assume that if a soul has had many incarnations as a male, then if they're female in this life, that could feel uncomfortable because now they're on the receiving end rather than being the one with the power. But
Yep.
equally, if somebody has had a lot of roles where they've been the suppressed female in this life, they might want to be that masculine, I need to express myself, even though
Yep.
that might not fit with the life that they've got now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So they may show um, some dominant energies
Yeah.
that um, are perhaps misaligned. So they may come across as arrogant or they may come across as um, unsensitive,
Mm.
insensitive,
Insensitive.
insensitive. Um, and some of that could be just because they're finding their own energy and
Yeah.
what fits with them in this lifetime.
Mm. Yeah, and I think we also have to bear in mind that, you know, I know life isn't linear, time isn't linear, but that's the concept that most people understand. So we'll stick with that for now. A lot of souls have had hundreds of lives, if not thousands. Some people have had 3,000 incarnations just to scare the living daylights out of people. Um, so you're going to bring all of that with you. And
Mm.
virtually since Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, women have been suppressed, treated as the lesser, and so on. So whether you've had mostly male or mostly female lives or an equal balance over those 3,000 lives, you're going to bring a lot with you, because if you've had predominantly male lives, you've been the one in charge. You've been the one that can do what they want when they want, and they've had much more freedom. So that's going to affect how your soul has become conditioned. You know,
Yeah,
if enough people shout at you and tell you to shut up, eventually you stop talking, or you
of
stop
course. Yeah.
giving anything of any value. And so in this life, all of that history is coalescing into one. And then you bring in a wound like the Brotherhood wound, and suddenly it's an unholy mess. And so, you know, there can be a lot that your soul has witnessed and lived that it's bringing through. But I also believe that when we get to this life, this is our opportunity to unravel all of that. It's almost
Mm.
like we've chosen this perfect environment where we can go, ah, right, I can shed all of that history that my soul has been through. I've learned, I've grown, but I've also, like my phone, updated the software, and I know more and I am better. And I'm not this Stone Age man that wants to club his wife over the head. You know, it's
Mm.
like I can evolve, I can grow. And so everything that our soul has been through is just that exploration and that growth and an opportunity to be more than we were. And so it's it's not just about this life, it's a whole long history of everything that we've been through.
Absolutely. And I'm going to find a new word. Um, so every lifetime that we've had, right, we have learnt something, right? Our soul is on a journey of evolution
Yeah.
through all of our lifetimes. So that means we're going to bring through some amazing gifts,
Yep.
things that we've learned, things that we can work with in this lifetime. But we're also going to bring through some of the rubbish that we've had.
Yep.
And we would have had lifetimes that cover every range. And I know we've talked about this a little bit. So we're
Mm.
going to have the really positive, the really negative, and everything in between, so that our soul has a complete understanding of everything within that situation, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it is going to be biased to
Yeah.
one or the other. It needs that information, full picture.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to remember that, when we're going through healing, yes, we're healing some of those perhaps negative, upsetting, traumatic things that happened in past lifetimes. But we can also bring through our gifts, our knowledge, and our wisdom to help us in this lifetime too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's not black and white. You know,
Mm.
it is definitely like a tie dye. You know, you dip it in the water and it moves up. And you know, to me, I take what Shakespeare said, you know, the world is a stage
Mhm.
and the people are the actors on that stage. But I take it a step further, and it's almost like a one man show where you race on and you play the mother, and then you race on and you play the father, and then you race on and you play the murderer, and then you get the murdered. And you've got to play every
Mm.
single nuanced part, because you have to understand, as the soul that is murdered, what that feels like, as the soul that is the one doing the murdering, as the souls that are the family and friends and the impact, that's not the right word, like the explosion that happens when that happens, you know,
Yeah.
the leftovers, I can't think of the right word I want, the fallout. um, and so, and you might have to do that more than once. And as a real bookworm, I would definitely recommend the Brian Weiss books. That's Weiss. In particular, I think there's one called Between Lives, where he interviews the souls between each incarnation.
Mm.
Also, the trilogy of Oversoul 7, that's really good. That's a spirit guide in training. It's brilliant. Um, and I would recommend the Rob Schwartz books because he breaks it into case studies. And there's one lady, she's been murdered by the same soul like 42 times. And it's like, what the hell is going on? I do not want that happening in this life. I need to sort this out. And they go through the soul plan meeting and they figure out what this dance is that they're doing. So it's very much Groundhog Day.
Mm,
So if you want to be able to really understand that particular aspect of everything that we're talking about, I would really recommend those books.
amazing. I think, yeah, it's good to have some good recommendations that perhaps have helped us on our paths in moving forward. So for me, I've read a lot of Akashic record books and those kind of things, but I am not a bookworm.
Oh, are you not? Oh my
No,
God.
no, I'm a DIYer.
I'm a bit of both, to be fair. And in my membership portal, members can actually see all my favorite books and
Mm,
my reviews. And I was talking about the Celestine prophecy because that was the book that really kicked me off in 96. That really made me move forwards. I can't read it now. It's like trying to do one and one is two. It's just, I've just moved on so much. But depending on where people are on their journey, I would definitely recommend the Celestine Prophecy, and even books like Journey of Souls by Michael J. Newton. It just
hmm.
depends where you are in your journey, because if you're just starting out, some of those might be a bit deep. But I do revisit those books. So if people want to keep dipping in and out, they will eventually get there, and it will help them to understand all the different nuances that we're talking about, because it's very easy to make it sound black and white, and it is absolutely anything except. It
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a journey.
is a
And it's
journey, yeah.
not just about the destination. I'm sure you've heard that about a million times. It is about the journey that we are on and enjoying that journey, whether we're healing, whether we're celebrating something, or whether we are just being. It's all part of what it is that we are here to experience. So don't keep trying to get to the destination all the time.
Yeah.
Enjoy the journey.
I think we as a species are always about that. It's like, I want to get from being awake to being super, super spiritual. But actually, the bit in between is where the learning is and the growth and the enjoyment. And I love how far I've come with my journey. And I know there's so much more to come. But actually, a lot of those things along the way were kind of like, boom. And I still look back at them with that sense of wonder, which is great. So don't be in such a rush to get from A to Z. Just, take every day as it comes, enjoy every experience. And I sometimes see it as one of those computer games where you go down this dead end and collect a bottle of poison or a key, and you're like, what am I going to do with that? And then you get to level 35 and you're like, oh, I need that key to open this door. Not that
Yeah.
I'm much of a computer player, but, to me, that is life. There's random stuff that we collect in the way of knowledge and experience and understanding. And we go, oh. And then suddenly we need it. And it's like, oh, that's handy. I happen to know a little bit about that to be able to help me.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
I find that fascinating that the universe gives us little hints and little breadcrumbs, even when we haven't got a clue that we need it.
Absolutely. It's incredible what actually comes along and how things start to fall into place.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes we can have a master plan and we're like, yeah, I've got it all under control. And then the universe goes, bam. And you're like,
Yeah, exactly. No, you don't.
well, the universe knows what's best. So, this is why they say man plans and God laughs. Actually, it's the universe laughing because it's like, yeah, whatever, you just get on with that. And I'll let you know when we've got our plan ready.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is exciting because we diverse into other things, right? If I look back at where I was, say, 10 years ago when I moved here, I'm in a completely different place and a completely different path
Yeah.
to what I expected.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. Yeah.
So, and that's because, we're paying attention to what the universe is placing in our path. I mean, my plan was obviously to run my business and build the house and, all of those kind of things. And, COVID has affected all of us in ways that we are still understanding,
Yeah.
but other things as well. I mean, I certainly didn't plan to create a deck of cards. That wasn't on my list of things to do.
Well, your soul did in your soul plan meeting, but Suzi's forgotten about it.
Yeah, okay. But me, in my logic, in my
Yeah,
masculine energy, that wasn't on the list. And the way that things are going, the people that I'm meeting, um, is more than I could have dreamt of, and
yeah,
more than I could have planned for.
yeah,
But it
yeah.
is about paying attention.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, it's very easy when the doors feel like they're slamming in our face to want to stamp our feet and rant and rave. But I also believe if the doors aren't opening, it's either the wrong time or it's not meant to come to us.
Yeah.
When we allow the universe to get on with what it needs to do, and it feels right and we go with the flow, the doors will open and the right people will cross our paths. And it might
Mm.
not have been what we had planned. I mean, I don't even know what I was expecting 16 years ago when I started this, but it sure as hell wasn't what I've got now. But I
Yeah.
loved it. And they've certainly got a better master plan than me. So, but it is one of those things that, you can't force something to happen if it's not meant to. And if you
Mm.
are working against these wounds or you're trying to do something and these wounds are getting in the way, then what you want is going to be flipping hard work if you even get it.
Mm.
So if you've got a wound that causes you to sabotage yourself because you don't feel that you deserve money or you've got the poverty vow going on, you're never going to get your business where you want it to be because that's going to keep getting in the way. And so it's
Exactly.
really important to clear these wounds and get them out of the way, because it's like carrying 10-pound bags over your shoulder when you don't need to, so jettison that extra pressure and weight and baggage, and life is a lot lighter and easier. And then your decision making is more intuitive based on what feels right rather than being dictated to by these outside forces.
Exactly. And if you think, is it the Nine of Wands where he's got all the burdens on his back?
Yeah,
That's how you're living. If you imagine that tarot card
yeah,
with all that excess weight and like literally being, I suppose, suppressed and pushed down with the burdens and the emotions, right?
yeah.
Emotions is something that we should probably do a whole podcast on,
Oh, I think so.
that are keeping you stuck in that energy. And it's when we remove that emotion and the wounding that you can start to feel lighter and freer and be able to take steps forwards without dragging the weight of the world with you.
Absolutely. And so, it is just a case of start clearing the layers, even if it's a little bit, look at yourself, not in a,
Judgmental.
yeah, not in a critical, judgmental way, but just what don't I like about myself? Okay. I'm 5'1". I can't change it. Either wear high heels or get on with it. And if you can do something about it, brilliant. Okay. So if you are terrible at timekeeping and it drives everyone nuts and causes you problems, find out why. And it might be in a
Mm.
previous life you were late to something and it caused a massive problem and it's still causing problems. Okay.
Mm.
So just pick something and then journal on it, observe it, talk with it, talk to that part of you that has terrible timekeeping and find
Yeah.
out what's going on. And then you can do something with it.
Yeah.
And so, meditate, use your deck of cards because that's a great tool for healing. Um, Work with someone like you and I. There's a million different ways to crack this particular issue and get rid of it so that your life gets easier.
There is. And obviously, Tracy and I have been through our own dramas, chaos, healing, and all of the things, right? And there's nothing that will surprise us, I think.
I can't imagine it would. No. I mean, sometimes like I've done some work with you and you said, oh, this is there. And I'm like, oh, wow, really? Okay. I'm surprised I didn't learn about that already. But then you've got to get rid of the stuff on the top to get
Mm.
to the lower down stuff. So, I've been clearing the other stuff, and then someone like you comes along and goes, oh yeah, there's that. I'm like, oh, okay, that was buried. I'll get rid of that now. So
Yeah.
it is a process, but the sooner you start with that process, the more work you do,
Mm.
the better. And it doesn't need to take hours, weeks, months. But if you don't start investigating tips and techniques and
Mm.
ways to clear those problems, then you're never
Mm.
going to. Funny enough, I did a masterclass at the weekend on intuition, because people keep saying to me, I don't have the time. I don't have the time
Mm.
to develop. I don't have the time to go to a class and learn to do this, that, and the other. And so I'm trying to find lots of different hacks for people where they can do something with it taking no extra time. And
Mm.
so some of the stuff we've been talking about, you can do while you're out walking the dog. You can talk to those different parts of yourself, your guides, angels, whatever. You can do the releasing whilst you're stuck in traffic or sat on the train going to work. So it doesn't need to take loads more extra time and energy.
Absolutely. And, if you want to create change, if you want your life to be better, then find some time.
Yeah,
Like, we're not talking hours a day, we're talking maybe 15 minutes a day
yeah.
to make that change.
Yeah. And one of my ladies in this challenge that I mentioned earlier, everyone's picked one thing that they want to make more part of their life, whether that's meditation, grounding, talking to their guides, whatever. And she said, you know what? I've been getting up 15 minutes earlier and doing my meditation because that is suiting me better than doing it at the end of the day because I just keep falling asleep.
Mhm.
And she is noticing the difference. Now, if I said to somebody, if I gave you £1 million and you had to do 1 hour a week for a month, could you do it? I bet very few would say no, if any,
Mm.
because
Yeah.
there's £1 million.
Yeah.
But if I said, do you think you could find an hour a week to do meditation, self-development, or whatever, they're like, oh no, I'm far too busy, you know?
Exactly. So
And
it's how we perceive it and how we perceive the value of what it
absolutely,
is
yeah.
that we want to get to.
And I would set a challenge. Anyone that's watching this who's going, yeah, I don't have time. I totally get these people who are saying don't have time. Go to the information on your phone, your iPad, whatever, and have a look how much screen time each of your devices has. Because that time when you're scrolling on Facebook is just dead time. That
Mm.
time that you're scrolling through the news feeds, dead time. If you could take 10 minutes of that and use that to strengthen your intuition,
Mhm.
that's more powerful and has more value. So just go and look at your screen time and see just a little bit of that you could claw back and do
Mm.
something more useful with. And pretend there's £1 million up for grabs if you do it.
Absolutely. Or, the dream house or the dream partner or whatever it is,
Yeah,
right? That is the outcome.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so invest in yourself, invest in your growth.
Mm.
Yeah, I think
Definitely. Sorry. I got a tickle in my throat.
oh no. Well, maybe that's a sign from them upstairs that we've said everything we need to
Yeah,
say.
stop talking, woman.
Oh, I think people in my life would love if I did that.
Yeah, I get a feeling mine too.
So we're gonna bring you guys some different stuff. There are hundreds of wounds, but we think you might get a bit bored if we just keep doing wound after wound. So next week, I think we're going to take a look at how to build your intuition, how to communicate with your intuition, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that would be a great next step
Yeah,
in this journey so that when you understand your intuition and how it speaks to you, that could be a feeling, a knowing, seeing something, you can then start to connect with perhaps the previous podcast that we've done where we're talking about the brotherhood wound, the motherhood wound, the mother wound. And you may start to notice that intuition kicking in, giving you information that perhaps you're holding this or holding a part of this.
absolutely, totally. I'm
I'm
talking
going to keep
to them
coughing
now.
now.
So if you guys want to connect with us, all of our details are in the show notes beneath. I've also opened the doors to my membership group, where it's all on demand. All you got to do is come and join. There's a founding member price at the minute. You can just come and join and start downloading all the meditations, the master classes, the tutorials. You can see all my book reviews, and you can even download the books that I've written. So if you want to work but don't want to be committed, then there's that for you. Plus, Suzi and I have both got our Facebook groups where you can come and get tips and talk to people and be part of a community as well. So you don't have to do this on your own, but you don't have to go and join into a club for 2 hours a week that you haven't got. Okay. So we would love any comments from you, any questions, just drop comments and we will cover those maybe on the next podcast if we can. So do let us know what you think.
Yeah, we'd love to know, what would you like us to cover? What would you like to learn or connect with, so that we can help you and make these talks, really, really powerful for you. For me, my decks are now here. So if you'd like a deck, do go and check out the website. The link will be in the description. So they are ready to ship. Really, really exciting news. It feels like I've waited for them forever. So we're starting to get those posted out today.
Fantastic. Excellent.
Awesome. So we will see you next time.
Brilliant. Look forward.
Bye for now.
Bye.